Well, this year is the 30th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. For most Americans, haunting images of those final days of defeat in Vietnam are what we remember. Yet on a recent trip to Southeast Asia, I found a country far from fixated on past hostilities, but focused more on establishing a prosperous future between two countries that were once enemies and are now establishing a new relationship based on trade and trust.
I was a little apprehensive as to what my reaction would be.
For Tom Gray, walking the streets of Saigon brings back memories of his youth.
I was here in 1969 and 70 when we had the highest concentration of troops, over 500,000 people.
But 35 years later, Gray is part of a much smaller group of state business and education leaders working to strengthen economic ties between Vietnam and Oklahoma.
Vietnam, without a doubt, is one of the most dynamic and fastest growing economies in Asia.
Barry Clark is the Director of Global Business Services for Oklahoma's State Department of Commerce.
Oklahoma is unique in this market. We're the only state with a trade office in this market, and we have been very active here with our businesses and with our educators. Which has paid off. Trade with Vietnam has exploded in recent years, and with a bilateral trade agreement now signed between the U.S. and Vietnam, shows no sign of slowing down.
We've seen trade dramatically increase on both sides. The United States now is the #1 trading partner of Vietnam, and Vietnam is a substantial market for U.S. goods. And we expect to see that continue to increase as our other ties, not just economic, but other ties grow stronger.
And with established Oklahoma ties already in place, Vietnam is a market suited to our state's strengths.
Oklahoma's areas of expertise and economy has a lot of similarities to Vietnam. Oil and gas industry, both countries, agriculture industry, environmental services, aviation, aerospace, very growing industry in Vietnam, great area of expertise in Oklahoma.
Expertise Vietnam needs and wants. Meetings with both business leaders and government officials even made the nightly news.
Taylor, Bộ trưởng Thương mại và Du lịch của tiểu bang Oklahoma dẫn đầu cùng các thành viên là các nhà.
And Vietnam's search for foreign trade is drawing investment at a once unimaginable scale. Christiana Waspy is with the American Chamber of Commerce.
I can only say to everybody, there is a Vietnam after the war, and it's entirely different. It has changed so much, it's entirely different.
Little trace of hostility remains toward the U.S. Children now play among captured military equipment, one of just a few reminders of a war more than half of Vietnam's population is now too young to remember.
I found they have been very friendly, much more open than I expected, much more willing to engage in dialogue about collaborations and partnerships, even to the point of suggesting how we might accelerate more aggressively some of our collaborations in both education and in commerce.
Which was welcome news for Oklahoma companies like American Fidelity. Paul Lamb heads their Asian operations.
I was able to visit the Ministry of Finance through the Secretary of Commerce. Without her presence, I do not think that I would be able to meet such a high level of a minister. We will be able to do business much more efficient and faster than we originally anticipated.
Growth that Secretary of Commerce Taylor says could fuel our state's future success.
Our companies have got to expand their revenue base outside not just Oklahoma and the United States, but really around the world. And the largest market is Asia. That's the market that's growing in the next decade, and we need to have a foothold here for our Oklahoma companies.